Transmission. It is April 30th, 2025, 0000 hours. Is anybody out there? This is the Blue Iron Lion broadcasting from somewhere. So I did a post earlier, just some random thoughts about dental work I had and some other incidents, just keeping it lighthearted. But it was removed by YouTube. Apparently my mention of a substance derived from a naturally occurring element, which happens to have been used since ancient times, didn't sit well with the archons and their algorithm bent on control and suppression. It kind of makes me miss when YouTube first came out and was begging people to engage. That's what I remember, and this was disappointing, because it's not like I was saying, hey, do this. I just said what worked for me. When I started this channel, it was sort of like an underground esoteric place, something someone out there might discover now or later. It just clicks. I never had the personality for fame, right? I figured there'd be maybe 20 subscribers, 50 tops, and that'd be our thing. If more come, then the merrier. Well, then one might ask, so if you don't care for a massive following, then why even start a YouTube? And my response would be, I don't know. I have ideas. It feels good in the moment. And then, it's time to move on to something else. Life gets busy, that sort of thing. And so all of this is a filler, right? Like to replace the part my video was taken down for. Right? So here's the filler. Here's a random thought. You remember the story of the gingerbread man who ran as fast as he can? You couldn't catch him because he's the gingerbread man, right? Remember how he would taunt everyone that tried to catch him and eat him? And then eventually at the end, he was outfoxed by a fox who gained his trust, only to trick him and eat him, right? So, when you first hear that story, at the age most of us first heard it, as much as it may have seemed like a joygasm at the time to have something so cocky and obnoxious taunt others and run away, when you really think about it now, though, what a horrific nightmare of an indoctrination of a story. You see, you had the gingerbread man, an entity proud of the fact that he had a skill which allowed him not to be exploited and eaten, only for a fox to gain his trust and then end him, right? Like the fox befriended him and took him to a place, I think it was a body of water, where the gingerbread man couldn't escape if he wanted to. Anyway, that's my random thought and filler for the part that I had to remove, talking about my tooth pain and what cured it and et cetera, et cetera. The rest of the transmission will pick up from the part that wasn't banned. Completely random note. Does anybody else out there notice that when talking to people these days, it feels like you have to be extra deliberate or intentional with what you say? Or is it just me? Like, you can't even say simple things anymore. I don't know if it's the younger crowd or if it's always been like this. Like, you're at the store and you ask, hey, can you tell me where the tomatoes and potatoes are? It said they'd be in the vegetable section, but I don't see them. Could they be in another section? Right? Simple. And people just stare as if I'm speaking ancient Sumerian or something. Right? And forget about over-the-phone customer service. They just get flustered. I had to let a guy know the other day, like, yo, would you stop cutting me off? I'm trying to tell you something. And it's like I find myself having to talk like Minister Farrakhan just to get my point across. Hello, sir or ma'am. Might you kindly inform me where I might find the Pepto-Bismol, as it is no longer available in the usual spot? I don't know. Like, maybe, was it me? Was I talking too fast? This reminds me, though, back when Blockbuster was still around, there was this guy at the register who fast-talked me into some deal I didn't need. Only time it happened, though. I was in my 20s. But he was saying something along the lines of how I could get 2 for 1 if I did it this way. I don't remember the details, but my ego wouldn't allow me to admit that I didn't understand what he was talking about. the way he presented the deal and how fast he was talking, it was like he was playing 3-card monte with me. So I ended up walking out with 2 extra videos I didn't even care for. I was pissed. Like halfway to my car, I turned and came right back like, hey, I only wanted 1 video, man, He just smirked and offered me a refund. It was like he got satisfaction in knowing he fast talked me into a deal. Like, I guess I came off to him like, hey, you tricked me. Right? I don't know. Maybe I was off that day. I felt like such a Neanderthal. I was like talking to her like, you want to see me or something? But back to the dental work. So I remember at my old job many years later from that, I needed to get a tooth pulled. And the insurance afforded me the most pristine looking dental office I'd ever seen. Don't even know if I can mention a name, but it was state of the art, like the type of place you'd imagine aliens from the Men in Black would go to get their dental work completed. It was massive and polished. But then, of course, you find out that many practices overcharge. And I respect doctors and dentists, but a lot of these high-end places tend to bill based on everything they can squeeze out of your insurance rather than what you may actually need. It's like you've got to get diligent on comparing the bill versus the submission ticket to your insurance. And most of these practices know that most people won't question it. It's like, I thought my insurance was supposed to cover 80%, but somehow I'm still paying close to 80%. Like, make it make sense. But as it turns out, they basically tried to add in stuff I didn't need. Not illegal, but perhaps unethical. Be careful your dental office don't charge you $300 for 1 mouth shake of off-brand Listerine. No, I've learned my lesson after Blockbuster. Well, at the same dental place, there was this young dentist there. Sort of favored Time Mac from The Last Dragon for some reason, like an alternate universe version of him, who just happened to be a dentist. He gave me a price and I said, look, just pull the tooth. I've had 1 pull before, so let's just go ahead and do it. And after some back and forth, he basically smirked and said, I'm not going to pull the tooth. I was like, wait, what? That was when I felt like the jig was up. He wanted more money, and he couldn't add the other fancy charges if he was just going to pull a tooth. So I ended up going to another office and getting the tooth pulled there. It was an annoying experience, but it worked out. But I will say, not all tooth extractions are created equal. I had a wisdom tooth pulled one time, and I will tell you, it was one of the worst experiences ever. They swore they gave me enough Novocaine, and I swore they did not. I felt everything. I had 2 nurses, or dental assistants on my left side holding my hand, and a dentist on my right side with my arm around his waist. He just kept pulling. I couldn't beg him to stop because with all the dental work going on, I was unintelligible. The dentist, he yanked both hands on the pliers. He put 1 foot up on the chair. When that didn't work, he then planted 2 feet up on the chair. And when I slid down the chair, he yanked me back up by the pliers and sat me back in the seat. Okay, exaggeration. That part is an exaggeration. A joke I heard from my Uncle Lincoln when I was a kid. Credit to him. No, but jokes aside, that's what it reminded me of. That's what it felt like. And no, yeah, the nurses really were holding my hand, and my arm really was around the dentist's waist. And I really was trying to beg them to stop. All that part was true. Anyway, I thought I might pass out. I wanted to. Felt like I was in the dentist chair in the Little Shop of Horrors. I was waiting for the question, is it safe? Those who know that particular line from that other movie, the other movie, know exactly the scene I'm talking about. In all seriousness, take care of your teeth early. Tooth infections are no joke. People can and have died from tooth infections. So get to a dentist if you can. I've been in and out of the dentist's office more than I can count, which is crazy because I always brush my teeth. But depending on your teeth structure, you may need more than brushing. In fact, at one point I became so diligent, I started bringing in my own chart. Like, okay, so you said I needed to work on number 11 and number 17 dentists. But if you look at the notes, etc. When I'd walk in, the dentist would look at me like, oh, it's you again. And look, still here I am, overcoming an infection. I believe it has to be what we eat too. Like the microbrush is the best thing since sliced bread because it gets in between where it really matters, between the teeth and the gum line, better than floss. I wish that was out when I was younger, and if they were, I didn't see them in the store until like just under a decade ago. But anyway, just my piece on oral care and other things. If anyone out there cares to listen. End transmission.